I am California of the past.
I
I
am
am California
California
of the
of the
past.
past.
I
I
I
am
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 California
California
of
of
California
the
the
of the
past.
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 Lowriding has existed in San Jose for more than 65 years. However, it has cultural roots that go back even further. For example, the whole concept of the vaquero, the horsemanship, this goes back to 500 years, this concept. And it can be said that lowriding has many parallels with the horsemanship. Mexican youth have replaced horses and horsemanship with their beautifully crafted machines, each of which is given as much attention as care as any horse of the past. The ritual and symbolism associated with lowriding has its genesis in the Mexican Paseo, a tradition from the colonial period that revolves around the plaza, where much of a community's socializing occurs. Lowriding as we know it today started in the 1940s in East Los Angeles. According to Sonny Madrid, the Chicanos of the 1940s were influenced by the Okies from Oklahoma. The Okies and other Midwesterners were the first to customize their cars. The Pachucos, or Chicano youth between the ages of 13 and 21, adopted this idea and added the lowering of the car to eventually make the first lowrider. Cruising customarily took place on a Sunday when no one was working. As with the Paseo, it revolved around a central location. Whittier Boulevard in East LA gave birth to the lowriding movement around 1940s, and up until 1979, when it was closed to cruising, it was the lowriding capital of the world. Before long, Phoenix, Albuquerque, San Francisco, San Antonio, El Paso, Denver, Tucson, every major city in the Southwest, as well as many small towns, had a major cruising spot. In San Jose, recalls Henry Dominguez, a longtime activist in the Chicano community, in the 1950s there was cruising on 1st Street and 2nd Street. All the people used to hang out by the Woolworth on 1st. It was a thing of beauty and pride to watch these cars. In the 1960s, cruising took place on Alum Rock Avenue and Alum Rock Park on the east side. In the 1970s, they moved to San Antonio Street and to the parks and to King and Story roads. I remember hanging out with friends and cousins, maybe drinking a beer or two. Someone in the group always had a lowrider. Cruising or lowriding was spontaneous. Lowriding was all about socializing, having a good time, exchanging information on upcoming events, and if you were lucky enough, finding a date for the night. The only threat was from the police, who continually pulled us over and harassed or ticketed lowriders. It was like a game of cat and mouse, even comical at times, as though we were some type of fugitive outlaws when all we were doing was riding around. Eventually, 1979, Whittier Boulevard is closed. However, once Whittier Boulevard was closed, King and Story in East San Jose became the next lowriding capital of the world. On any given weekend day, there were thousands of lowriders cruising. The music of War, Malo, Tower of Power, Santana filled the air. There were women who had car clubs as well, such as the Ladies Dimensions out of Watsonville, the Lady Angels out of Fresno, the Ladybugs, a Volkswagen club, and the New Lifestyle that were around in the 1970s. In the summer of 1977, Sonny Madrid of San Jose founded, published, and edited the first edition of Lowrider, a periodical aimed at the heart and soul of the barrio. The message was unity. Subscription grew up to over 100,000, not only throughout the Southwest, but also in the Midwest, particularly Chicago, and at military bases around the world. For Chicanos, it was the magazine to see and be seen in. When I appeared in Lowrider, I felt like an instant celebrity. Lowriding had that effect on people. No periodical was covering La Raza like Lowrider did. Eventually, lowriding got so big in East San Jose that there was a lot of controversy, and there was a lot of people who were looked at it very negatively and wanted to curtail this cruising that was taking place. This came from outside the community, but it also came from within the community. There was people who were for lowriding. There was many community members who were actually anti-lowriding. It was very controversial with many people, and so it eventually led to the implementation of no cruising zones. It led to the closing down of the fairgrounds to lowrider shows and lowrider concerts. What you begin to see was the cultural genocide. the actual killing, squashing of a particular cultural practice that was central to many Chicanos in San Jose and actually eventually throughout the Southwest and beyond. These days, you don't see too much lowriding. There are still lowrider clubs in San Jose. For example, Los Viejitos, the Deuce car clubs, and they do meet regularly or semi-regularly. Some of them on a weekly basis in certain places on Alum Rock or other places. And so you still see it. There's still cruisers out there during the 16th of September festivities, during Cinco de Mayo festivities. You see the cruising that takes place immediately after. Much of the cruisers are out there and they're lowriders. This is when you see the most lowriders these days out in force. It's during these celebrations. So it's still going on. It's a cultural practice that continues to this day. It's just that it's not as prevalent as it once was back in 1979 into the early 80s.